All right, so I have a channeled message for you guys today, and the energy that I'm tapping into has a lot to do with heart mind coherence. So I thought I'd come on, record a message for you guys. I sat down with the cards earlier and journaled. The cards that came out, the cards that came out were particularly interesting to me because they were mirroring cards. And whenever mirroring cards come out, I typically pay closer attention just because it's spirit's way of communicating a message of transition and change, and particularly with these cards that came out. So I did journal. A, um, I have a spirit message for you guys, and then I also have a channeled message for you guys. So we'll get into that in a minute. But before I do, hello, Phoenix Risers. Welcome. If you're new, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Um, Happy 11/11 Portal Day. I'm wearing yellow, well, gold. It's yellow, but I'm pretending it's gold, which is the color theme for the portal, this 11/11 portal, which is a very powerful portal that's great for manifestation. So be really careful with your thoughts today and um, clear on what you want. This energy is supposed to kick off manifestations that, and based on your decisions and your frequency, really, of the next 9 years of your life. So it's an important pivotal time. However, if you didn't make any preparations today, or this message is kind of late, if you didn't make any preparations today, the energy is usually the portal usually goes between the next. It's going to be for the next 2 or 3 days after. I'd say 2 days after. So anyway, getting right into it, the cards that came out today, the mirroring cards, were the Five of Swords, Queen of Swords, the Five of Cups, and the Queen of Cups. I'll show you the cards if you can see them. This is from my spellcaster's deck. I don't know if you could see these cards, but anyway, five of Swords, Queen of Swords, Five of Cups, Queen of Cups. So fives are the Five of Swords, first of all, is one of my least favorite cards. It's not a very good energy. It's any of the fives really, but the Five of Swords is one of my least favorites. But um, whether it be Five of Pentacles or the Five of Wands, none of them are really um, pleasant to deal with. So empathetic to those in those energies or dealing with those energies. I know I've been dealing in transmuting some of those energies myself. So, um, but the queens come in and kind of give you that alchemy of that energy, that the lower octave of that energy. So the fives, the number five and the fives of any of the suits are about change and conflict. And anytime there's change, there's going to be resistance. We're creatures of habit, and um, not everybody is wanting change. We love our comfort zones. We love routine, but with the energies at play here, we have Pluto in Aquarius and a lot of transformational energies. We have Uranus. I can't remember what Uranus is in right now. I think it just moved out of Gemini. I don't even want to get caught up on that because I didn't check the current energies. I checked previous energies, but I'm not sure when they've changed or switched, so I won't get into it. But um, we're dealing with very transformational energies. So with that comes change. The fives are about conflict and change. So um, we have an interesting message here. I did journal it. I sat with the cards, I journaled, and then I also have a spirit message. So I'm going to read some of this, a lot of it, because I can't remember everything. But the theme basically is it captures an energetic bridge that humanity is crossing right now. And it has to do with, it's from going from ego driven reactions to uh, more emotionally mature, heart centered reactions, or heart centered awareness, I should say. So, from conflict, what did I write? I can't even read my writing. From conflict and regret toward emotional sovereignty and compassion. So, it's these cards pretty much tell a story of emotional alchemy. Like I said, the lower octave of the Five of Swords and the Five of Cups to the Queen of Swords and the Queen of Cups. So it's a story of alchemy, the swords, mind, which has to do with the mind, truth, uh, and conflict. The anything that has to do with the mind and our thought processes and how we perceive. And then the cups, of course, having to do with emotions, heart-centered feelings and intuition. Um, they're being balanced with these queens that came out, and that means divine wisdom integrating from the lessons of pain. The Five of Swords is the Five of Swords is like a win at all costs type of energy. It's very egoic and self, not self-centered, but self-serving. Self-serving is the energy of the Five of Swords. And again, the um, win at all costs, meaning if you have to lie, it's very similar to me, to the Seven of Swords. The Seven of Swords is another nasty card that's been coming out a lot, and it just has to do with lying and avoiding and cheating and uh, controlling a narrative versus the truth. And it's it's not pleasant. It's not a pleasant energy. And then the Queen of Swords, the Queen of Swords has that mental discernment and clarity. She brings clarity and truth to illusions and is able to cut through the bullshit and bring truth to light. But even though she's discerning and sharp and um, cutting in her communication, it's not without grace or tact or without empathy. It's just cutting through the bullshit, really. So let's see. So we have divine wisdom integrating the lessons of pain. Da, 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 da. Yeah, with the Five of Swords and the Queen of Swords. That's the lesson with those two. And then with that message, Spirit is showing that there's a reckoning with distorted communication, ego battles, and mental overwhelm. The swords is when words become weapons, words are used as weapons, and the truth gets distorted by pride or fear. So it's really very reactive and impulsive, where somebody may say something or do something impulsively out of, and it ultimately it's acting out of egoic fear. When you're in it, or when you're on the other receiving end of it, it can be quite painful and um, revealing too. it's it's hard to get from it's hard to get from that cutting Five of Swords destructive energy, which leads to the Five of Cups. The Five of Cups is, oh, that's the Five of Swords. The Five of Cups is about grief, loss, sadness, pain. And, so it's like being on the opposite, the receiving end of that Five of Swords energy as well. And it's hard to get to a higher octave from that energy when you're in it, but that's the alchemical process that we're talking about, that spirit's highlighting. So it's really the Queen of Swords. Gosh darn it, sorry about that. My phone ran out of storage. I had to delete a whole bunch of stuff in order to keep recording. Hopefully it's sufficient enough now. Hopefully I didn't want to have to edit, but whatever. So I think where we left off was the Queen of Swords coming in. Yeah, we mentioned that the Queen of Swords comes in to cut through the bullshit. But anyway, what this means for the collective is letting go of mental warfare. Letting go of mental warfare and coming to a higher level of emotional maturity and communicating from a higher octave. It's and this is whether in relationships, online spaces, or even interpersonal, your inner dialogue, how you speak to yourself. How is your inner dialogue? Are you ripping yourself a new one, or are you being patient with yourself? Not only patient with yourself, but nurturing yourself and showing yourself love and compassion, the same love and compassion that you would show others, hopefully. Um, so it's really reclaiming. It's looking at and listening to your inner dialogue, your inner your your dialogue with others. If I can speak, if I can have a dialogue with myself, and also speaking your truth, speaking truth with grace and authenticity, and not in this, Five of Swords, egoic, win at all costs type nasty energy. It's just really nasty and hurtful. And it leads to Five of Cups energy, which is quite painful. If you look at the Five of Cups, which is also a very low vibrational energy, it's got the three cups spilled on the floor, and then he's kind of holding on to these two cups. And of course, in tarot, the Two of Cups, it's love, it's emotional, it's heart-based connections that are kind of like a soulmate energy, So when I think of the Five of Cups and the imagery in it, and those Three of Cups spilled, also in the Three of Cups in tarot, it's like um, has multiple meanings, of course, like all the cards do, but it could be a card of overindulgence, and also a card of infidelity, and just overindulgence. It's also a card of spirit too, so spirit guides, depending on the context of the card that you're reading it with, that determines the meaning. But um, the Three of Cups isn't always my favorite card either, because it often hints at third party interactions and infidelity. So, and then again, overindulgence with celebration and whatever it may be. But if you look on this one, you see those three cards spilled, and then the focus is on. I like the depiction in this deck a little bit more, because there's hope, at least, with the focus being on the Two of Cups, where in other depictions the focus is on the Three of Cups spilled and not really paying attention to the Two of Cups. It's like the back is turned to the Two of Cups. So this one, at least the focus is on love. And I was drawn to this deck for a reason today, and the imagery on them really do speak to me in in a vibrant kind of way. It's very image rich, rich with imagery. All right. So the Five of Cups to the Queen of Cups. Where is she? Five of Cups to the Queen of Cups. Emotional healing mirrors this mental healing, right? So it speaks of that mind heart coherence. And the Five of Cups speaks of grief, like I said, grief, loss, sadness, disappointment, and emotional dwelling. And yeah, it's important to feel your emotions and allow yourself to process these emotions, but don't allow yourself to get stuck there, because it is a very low vibrational state that you don't want to get stuck in. So it is important to try to alchemize those emotions into a higher octave, like the Queen of Cups, um, who is, again, emotionally mature and nurturing and intuitive. So, and compassionate. So the collective is mourning. The collective mourning what's been broken or left behind. The Queen of Cups steps in as the healer because she's compassionate and nurturing. And with the Queen of Cups, she says, feel but don't drown in grief. That's pretty much the message of the Queen of Cups. In short, remember the other two cups still standing. Remember that all isn't lost, even if it's lost in a connection. Even if it's lost in a connection, it's always a lesson learned from it. There's always uh, a gift for what you've gone through, if you can get through it, if you can alchemize it. So spirit is inviting us all to transmute sorrow into empathy, to use our emotional intelligence, and to hold space for others and ourselves as we transition from the old to the new. We're transitioning from a higher vibrational frequency, one that's more love conscious and authentic, which naturally breeds harmony. That's what we're all striving for, I should hope. Of course, we're in a dualistic um, a dualistic matrix. So, of course, there's always going to be the bad, but we're leaning towards a higher vibrational frequent state of a 5D consciousness and above. So the mirroring sequence of the fives and the queens, especially with these two particular suits, with it being swords and cups, mind and heart, it's a recalibration of the heart and mind coherence. Again, it's also a recalibration of the masculine and feminine energies, not only internally, but well, mainly internally, but also externally as well. As within, so without; as above, so below, or vice versa. And it's an opportunity to um, learn to cooperate with each other and coexist with each other, rather than compete. It doesn't have to be a competition. And if you're competing with somebody, especially if you're in a relationship, um, your spouse, or a relationship that really isn't just emotionally evolved maturely, or I don't know how to say that, but if the bottom line is, you shouldn't be competing with your spouse. You shouldn't be competing with your significant other. If anything, you should be uplifting each other and wanting to encourage each other to grow and do your best and be your best, and not competing. And the Five of Swords is very much so a card of competition, in addition to the Five of Wands. But anyway, it's an invitation to learn and and to be emotionally mature and responsible and co-create, coexist rather than compete. um, Spirit's collective message I have written down here that I'll read to you now. It says, "Beloved ones, the wars within and without are reflections of unhealed pain. Lay down your swords and tend to your hearts. You are not losing, you are transforming. When the mind and the heart sit as equals, peace becomes inevitable." Spirit is reminding us that the current intensity on earth, whether it be social, emotional, interpersonal, it's part of the collective's awakening. It's part of the collective awakening. Each argument, loss, or misunderstanding is an opportunity to move into higher awareness, higher self-awareness, awareness of yourself and awareness of others too, and others' intentions. And the queens are our guides through this ascension. These queens are our guides through this ascension. So the overall guidance, some key takeaways, some actionable guidance that I wrote down, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, balance. Out of that 5 energy is pause and take a breath before reacting, and being less reactive and choosing how you respond to something, or if it even warrants a response. And again, like my last video briefly touches on my message about the stink bug and needing to protect your energy. And I was going to do, that was supposed to be a part 2 of a part 1 recorded in reverse. I was going to do a video on why is the divine masculine self-sabotaging, but I decided not to do that because for one, it's very toxic. I didn't want to sit in that energy for too long, more than I have to. And not only that, it's like, okay, well, what is the energy now? What does the collective need to know in order to move out of that energy, to coexist, masculine and feminine, um, regardless of what the divine masculine's doing or spiraling out or whatever. Um, Take a breath and breathe, and don't be reactive, is what I'm getting at. The second is seek understanding over victory. So it may take a minute, especially if you're in the thick of it, if you're on the receiving end of that 5 of Swords energy. Again, it's easier said than done, but when you do just allow yourself to take on an observer effect, not only are you able to see that someone is ultimately operating out of egoic fear. It's fear and love, right? Love and fear in different octaves of it, or different levels or degrees of that same frequency. Ultimately, when somebody's acting out of 5 of Swords energy, it's egoic fear. So when you're able to sit back and take on an observer effect and not let that energy penetrate you personally, because 9 times out of 10, even though it's directed at you, it's usually more revealing of that person's own inner state and their own inner conflict than it is about you. So seek to understand over victory, meaning, don't try to match ego to ego, or and I mentioned this in my last video too, or put yourself in a lower vibrational frequency to match theirs, or to prove, or to over explain, or you really don't need to prove or explain anything when somebody's acting in that, from that state. It's like, if you can see it, then you can remove yourself from it. Yeah, it hurts. Yeah, it's disappointing. And that's why the 5 of Cups, there's grief, there's loss. Sometimes you have to completely remove yourself and separate yourself indefinitely. And there's a grieving process to that. But you know, it's also about self-love too, you know. So um 3, honor your emotions without judgment or feeling like you need to suppress your emotions. Allow yourself to grieve if you need to grieve. Let the tears flow. Healing doesn't need to be logical. It just needs to it just needs to happen. So it doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to make sense. You don't have to know why somebody is behaving the way they're behaving, even if you're later able to work it out. Usually you're when you take on the observer effect, you're able to work out why somebody may be acting the way they're acting, but you don't need that person to confirm to you why they're acting, is what I'm getting at. Hold space for others and understand that many are suffering in silence while learning these same lessons. So, not all hurt people, you know, that saying, hurt people. Um, to a certain extent, that's true, but I feel like I'm a living example of that not being true, because there's been plenty of times that I've been hurt, but I have no desire to hurt other people. So I'm able to come on and communicate this message after being hurt many, many times and give a message of love and hope and healing. So, and operate from a heart space and not feel like I need to close off my heart after dealing with 5 of Swords, 7 of Swords, 3 of Swords, 10 of Swords type energy. You know, it's holding space and understanding that others are fighting their own internal battles, and how that shows up externally is sometimes ugly. So balance the mind and the heart daily. You could do that through meditation, through cleansing your energy, consciously doing it though. And let your intuition and reason work hand in hand. You know, too much logic is kind of cold and detached, and then too much heart can be a little naive and open you up to that's my sword. Open you up to the 3 of Swords. Why am I holding this highlighter? I do have a crystal somewhere. I had a crystal. Where did my crystal go? Anyway, well, I do have a big giant green tourmaline here, but I had another crystal I was holding. I guess it got lost in the shuffle when I was trying to delete uh delete to make storage. It's here in my pocket. I'm like, how did it disappear? It's quite large. I'm like, where could it possibly have gone? It was messing with me for a minute. It was in my pocket. Okay, so holding space for, hopefully I wasn't too much of a microphone menace just then. Holding space for others who are suffering in silence, and then balance the heart mind. Okay, yeah, reason, let your intuition and your reason work hand in hand. So my last video also speaks to using your intuition, tapping into your intuition, and strengthening your intuition, and ways to do that. If you didn't check out my last video, I highly recommend that you do. It's shorter. Um, yeah, it's short. So anyway, closing thoughts on this guidance is that there's 2 worlds emerging: thought, feeling, logic, and love. And you are the bridge. And don't fear the endings. Don't fear the endings that bring wisdom. Every sword you drop in peace becomes a cup that overflows. That's the affirmation or the gift of it. And again, you know, I say this like it's easy, and I know that it's not. I know that it's not easy um, to transmute any level of pain or grief to get to that higher octave and that higher perspective, that higher chakra perspective that sees through the lens of your soul. but and it takes time, but be patient, being patient with yourself and being patient with your others, and um, having a little bit more awareness of that, a, awareness of yourself, your own behaviors, your own actions, your own responses. The only bottom line is you can only control your own actions and behaviors. You don't have control over others' actions and behaviors. So how they act and behave, that's they're going to do that. Gosh darn it. I had to delete again. I ran out of storage again. All right, so we're going to wrap this up. Our we that was pretty much the whole message. That closing thought was it. I don't remember where we left off, but that was the end of the channeled message. And I was going to end you guys though with a one oracle, an ascension oracle from this deck, Ascension Oracle, and leave it at that before it cuts off again. I haven't used this deck in ages. I pulled it out earlier though because I wanted to end with an oracle card, and I thought, well, this one's good, and I love that it has gold edges, and with today's portal being gold themed, I thought I would use it. All right, let's see what comes out. What message do we have for the collective spirit, for their greatest good, the greatest good of all, truth, wisdom, and love? What can we leave the collective with? Oh, 14, freedom. 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 Interesting. It reduces to a 5, y'all. Y'all could be seeing 555. I've been seeing tens a lot. 10, 10, 10, 9, 9, 9. But today, definitely a theme of 555 with all these fives coming out. 14 in tarot is temperance. 5 is the Hierophant. Let's see what this one says though. I'm already feeling like it has to do with self-sovereignty, self-love, and approaching things, well, balancing out your masculine and feminine energies and approaching things from a healed, whole state, and not a state of codependency or looking for fulfillment external to yourself. That's where you begin to get starved. If I had to rely on love from an external source, I would be starved. If I had to rely on self-worth or self-respect from an external source, I would be deprived and starved. So would you. So you want to cultivate all of those things within yourself, and not need or look of course you want those things, you want those things mirrored back to you in your relationships, but um, don't rely on it to get it. You'll be disappointed. You'll be in the 5 of Cups for life. All right. So I'm speaking from experience. It's part of healing. All right. But I'll read to you what it says in the book. It says, it's easy to stand in the crowd, but it takes courage to stand alone. Mahatma Gandhi. In this changing world, you are constantly faced with choices, making decisions based on the external, general consensus, or aligning yourself with your inner wisdom and truth. It is so easy to feel as though you don't fit in, to feel as though you don't belong when making choices that are guided by your heart. Loved one, you are so unique and your light is radiant. Do not for 1 second dim down your magnificent light to fit into a paradigm of what is perceived as the norm. Oh, that's making me want to cry. Where's my crystal? Be that catalyst for change by staying true to you. Get it together, girl. Again, unapologetic. Surrender yourself completely to your creative passions and lose yourself entirely to the freedom of your own song. You honor yourself by living from the heart more deeply. Through your courage, you inspire those around you to live a more authentic, free spirited life. Boldly stand in your light and co create a greater world through love. Anchor in the light by always following your own heart in truth. Exercise. Say out loud, I look within for the answers I seek and perceive its wisdom through unconditional love. Affirmation. I am guided by the light of truth within me always. And that's it. That's our message. That is our message. I'm sending love, light, and healing to anyone and all who can resonate with any part of this message. I've already set the intention that the message finds whoever resonates with it, whoever it needs to find. And even if that's one person or two, I'm thankful to be able to be a conduit of that, of this message and of this light. And for that, I'm grateful, and I'm going to leave you there. Keep on rising, y'all. Bye.